What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Keep It Kula Podcast. My name is Jacqueline, and this is episode number 65, I think. I've been having so many guests on, which I have loved, and I have not done a solo episode since the beginning of June. So it's been over 2 months since I've done a solo episode, and I felt like this was needed. But yeah, anyway, so welcome back to the podcast. A lot to talk about. The Blue Jays had an interesting weekend in LA against the Dodgers. The National Bank Open concluded last week, and it was a fantastic time here in Toronto, and it looked like a fantastic time in Montreal as well. And then I also want to talk a little bit about fantasy football because I have my draft tomorrow night. And yeah, just a lot of fun stuff to talk about. So let's just dive in first. Let's do the Jays. I want to talk about the Blue Jays first. So I had Sportsnet Sam McKee on last week. We talked about their crazy series against the Colorado Rockies. That series was a joke, as he and I were kind of talking about. The Jays scored 45 runs and had 63 hits. They broke a ton of franchise records. Guys, like Ty France in one game got on base 6 times, and Ernie Clement was hitting home runs. Everyone was making a difference in this series. And really nothing else. They played the worst team in the MLB, which is the Colorado Rockies, and the Jays are really good at taking advantage of really bad teams, clearly. It was a masterclass, and how to beat a really bad team is just smoke them in Game 1, Game 2, and Game 3. So that series was fun, but then the Jays came back to reality when they played against the Dodgers. So before that Dodgers series, though, there was a lot of excitement because Buck Martinez, Blue Jays analyst, was finally back. He's been out for a while dealing with health issues. He then announced that he was dealing with lung cancer, and thankfully he's feeling so much better and he's able to be in the broadcast booth. So that was so exciting for every fan, but also shout out to Joe Siddall for doing a fantastic job in the booth with Dan Shulman while Buck was away, but so happy to have Buck back. So the Dodgers-Jays series, I was nervous, I guess you would say, going into it, just considering the Dodgers are a fantastic team, right? They have the greatest baseball player in the entire world, Shohei Ohtani, and the Jays have been a little bit iffy, I guess you would say, following the All-Star break with, winning great and then losing badly and then playing bad teams and Vladdy not doing stuff and just a lot of questions, I guess I would say. So this series started Friday night. We had Max Scherzer against Clayton Kershaw, which is a legendary evening of 2 baseball players who will be Hall of Famers and who first played each other, I think it was 2009. And Scherzer and Kershaw are not young guys. They're going to be ending their careers soon, and this may have been their last matchup against each other ever. We have no idea, but it could have been the last time ever. So really cool to see them both play. Scherzer had a really good game. He really did. No complaints about Scherzer and the way that he played in LA on the West Coast. Just the guys just could not score. They were hitting a lot. They had 10 hits. They just could not score a run. They had 1 run in the entire game. Kershaw wasn't even great either. He was allowing a lot of hits. The Jays just couldn't get home. And that was just what happened. But you know what? It was Game 1, West Coast, after that crazy series against the Rockies. It was fine. And then Game 2 happened, and that wasn't pretty. Chris Bassitt had the start, and Bassitt is notorious this season for being pretty bad in away games, but being fantastic at home. So there was a lot of concerns about Bassitt going into this game. And Bassitt wasn't terrible to begin with. He was playing very well in the first couple innings, but the Jays, once again, could not find a way to get it done. And not only did they only find home once, they also just couldn't hit the ball. They ended the game with, I think, 5 total hits, and 2 of those came way too late in the game where it didn't even matter. So it was really like 3 hits in the game. When Bassitt, things started to go wrong for Bassitt, the bullpen just got worse and worse and worse. Whether it was Sir Anthony Dominguez and Yariel Rodriguez, it just got ugly even more in the game. And then also there's the fact that our stars couldn't hit the ball. Vladdy, no hits. Bichette, no hits. Varsho, no hits. The guys who actually did something in that game was the new guy, Ty France, who I have been loving after this trade deadline, Buddy Kennedy, who the Jays just called up, And Ernie Clement hit a home run with 2 hits in that game, which was a shock. So the guys who usually don't do anything did stuff in that game. So that game ended 9-1. It just wasn't pretty. It was a bad game. I watched that entire game from the start to the end. And it was just, you know what? That's baseball, though. Sometimes you're going to get games where they score 20 runs against the Rockies, and then you get a game where they score 1 run against the Dodgers and cannot hit the ball. So those first 2 games were not pretty. But then we go into game 3, and we get to see Eric Lauer on the mound. And if you've been listening to this, I am an Eric Lauer fan. I'm an Eric Lauer stan. I'm an Eric Lauer defender. I want to see him pitch. You know, there's a lot of talks about the 6-man rotation possibility. I don't know if I'm going to get into that in this episode. Just got to see what I can get through, and if there's time, I will talk about that, because the Jays obviously traded for Shane Bieber, and when he's back, we expect him to be a starter. And if he is a starter, then either one guy gets moved down or they stick with a 6-man rotation. So that's a whole other conversation. But anyways, Eric Lauer gets the start. It wasn't great. It wasn't great. As someone who's been really hot on Lauer and defending him and explaining why he should be a starter, it was not a great showing from him. He played in 3 innings. He allowed 6 hits and 3 earned runs. It just wasn't great from him. However, the Jays were able to score. They were actually able to score in this game. The Jays were actually able to hit the ball, and they were able to score. Vladdy and Barger had 2 huge home runs. And we finally got to see the guys hitting the ball. Almost everyone contributed in this game. So the Jays looked like they were going to win this game, right? The Vladdy and Barger home runs allowed the Jays to take the lead. They were up 4-3 going into the bottom of the 8th inning. So there's a lot of energy there. And now Jeff Hoffman is coming out. Well, before Hoffman, Yariel Rodriguez started the 8th inning. And allowed 2 men on base, but was able to have 2 outs as well for Hoffman to come in at the bottom of the 8th. The Jays are up 4-3 at this time. And Hoffman comes in. We're thinking, okay, he's going to get an easy out here, right? Hoffman has been our main reliever, our closer. He's been our closer. He's been the guy that we want to see in the postseason come in to close the games. However, things got very ugly. Hoffman comes into the game, bottom of the 8th inning. Jays are up 4-3, 2 outs with 2 men on. He then walks 2 men. He walks 2 players, meaning the Dodgers scored. The Dodgers tied up the game 4-4 because Hoffman, with 2 outs, walked 1 guy, loaded the bases, walked another guy, he scored. Then thankfully they got an out. But going now into the top of the 9th, it is a tied game. And Hoffman did something that we don't expect him to do, is walk 2 guys straight. So anyways, we go to the top of the 9th inning. Ernie Clement, who has been honestly an underrated story this year, I think just because there's so many stories with the Jays, whether it's Barger coming out of nowhere or George Springer having this legendary year in his old age. Ernie Clement is supposed to just be a minor league guy, has been such a contributor to this Jays team. And Ernie Clement hit a home run at the top of the 9th inning. Okay, Ernie Clement had back-to-back home runs in game 2. He had a home run in game 2 and a home run in game 3. Back-to-back days. I don't know if Ernie Clement has ever done that. I need to fact-check that. Has Ernie Clement ever had 2 home runs in 2 days? I would love to check that. But anyways, Clement hits a homer to start the top of the 9th inning. And the Jays take the lead 5-4. All the momentum is for Toronto at this point, right? It's fantastic. Everyone's going crazy. Well, not in LA, obviously, but every Jays fan is going crazy at this point. So going into the bottom of the 9th, Jays are up 5-4. And the Jays Schneider decides to keep in Jeff Hoffman. And what Hoffman does is he walks 3 batters. Okay? He walks 3 batters and loads the bases. It is not pretty. If you were watching this, you're thinking, how are the Jays going to win this? There's 1 out, bases loaded. And the Jays finally finally take Hoffman out. It just wasn't his day. I'm still big on Hoffman, but it was not his day in the slightest, and I think Schneider should not have put him in the ninth inning, or at least should have taken him out after the first walk of the ninth. So what the Jays decide to do is they put in rookie Mason Fluharty to face Shohei Ohtani with 1 out, bases loaded, bottom of the ninth. Anything will happen here. Anything can happen here. A bad pitch, a crazy pitch ties the game. Ohtani, any kind of hit, honestly, will probably tie the game. Walk him ties the game. So much can and will go wrong, or even just win the game, right? Ohtani is Ohtani. He could smash that ball and hit a grand slam to end the game and sweep the Jays. However, the rookie, Mason Fluharty, goes in there against the greatest hitter in all of baseball, and who will go down as the greatest baseball player of all time. Battles with Ohtani. Has a battle with him for, I believe, 9 pitches. Right? You got strikes, you got balls, you got tips, you got fouls, you got a little bit of everything. And he strikes him out. Mason Fluharty strikes out Shohei Ohtani in the 9th inning, bases loaded, to make it 2 outs. Shocking. I think that's the best way to describe it, is a shock. Mason Fluharty is not the guy that you're going to expect to strike out Shohei Ohtani on a battle, right? It's not like, 3 strikes and he's out. He had to battle that. And usually when there's a battle like that between the batter and a hitter, the batter is going to win that because the pitcher, sorry, did I say batter hitter? I meant to say the pitcher and the batter, because the pitcher is going to be exhausted from straight pitches, is going to be confused, is going to try to figure out a way, how am I going to get this out? I don't want it right down the middle, obviously, but I can't walk him. Anyways, strikes out Ohtani, beautiful pitch, has him reaching. Fluharty now has 2 outs in this game to work with. Bases loaded, 2 outs, with Mookie Betts now coming to the plate. And I know Betts has had a bad year. However, he has been fantastic against the Jays. He has been finding his groove again. And former MVP, he's a great player, Betts. And bases loaded, 2 outs. And Fluharty wins the Jays the game because Betts grounds it to Barger, throws it to second, and that's game. The Blue Jays won this game. Not because of Eric Lauer, not because of Jeff Hoffman, because of Mason Fluharty, the rookie. Beat the Dodgers, beat Mookie Betts, and beat the greatest hitter in baseball. The greatest baseball player. What an experience that was. What a moment. The biggest moment of his career. Possibly the biggest moment of the Jays this season. It wasn't, a sweep. It wasn't a bottom of the ninth, Jays winning it on a homer. It wasn't a walk-off win for the team. But it was a rookie, the guy that you would not want to see against Ohtani, win the ball game with the bases loaded. So, huge shout out to Mason Fluharty. I believe he said that he blacked out during that moment, which makes sense. It's the scariest moment of your baseball career. What a moment that was. Jays fans are thrilled. Jays fans, I hope, are still Team Jeff Hoffman. But Mason Fluharty is the king in Toronto for the next couple of days because of that. All right. Now I want to move on to tennis. A little bit of tennis talk. We had the National Bank Open. I had reporter for The Athletic, Lucas Weiss, on 2 weeks ago to talk about this tournament. The men play in Toronto while the women play in Montreal. I was able to go in Toronto, obviously, and I was able to go to 3 days of tennis. Fantastic event. I just want to start off by saying what an event that they are able to put on with Sobe Stadium and at York, and everything about it was so well done. From the volunteers, so kind, so friendly, so helpful. The ball kids did a great job, obviously. The people there were awesome. Everything about the event was amazing. There's so much going on. It's not just about the tennis. There's games, there's food, there's shopping, there's a little bit of everything on the grounds. There's so much going on. There's huge screens. There's a million matches happening, right? You don't have to sit at center court all day. There's a ton of matches happening, and I got to see some of my favorite players like Ben Shelton. who ended up winning the tournament, who I was really happy about because he's one of my favorite players on tour. He's the one guy that I really wanted to see. That's what I said when I, obviously was planning on going to National Bank Open. Said I really want to see Ben Shelton play, and I got to see him play twice. I got to see him play in 2 different matches, which was so cool. Not in the finals. I went a little bit earlier. Got to see Francis Tiafoe, who is one of my favorite players as well, have a crazy good match. I believe it was his second round match, I want to say, or maybe it was first round match. I honestly can't remember now. I saw Rublev play. I saw, who else? Diallo play. Just amazing tennis. Played there, and I had an amazing time every day, 3 different days there for hours. So much to do, so much fun. So shout out to National Bank Open. So now I want to talk about the finals though. So for Montreal, there was a lot more hype, I would say, in Montreal, because when it comes to Canadian tennis, there's not a ton of stars, right? We're looking for our next star, because America has their next stars, right? And Taylor Fritz and Tiafoe and Shelton and Tommy Paul, right? Italy now has Jannik Sinner. Spain has Carlos Alcaraz. They went from Rafael Nadal to Carlos Alcaraz. So we're now looking for our next star, because Andreescu, had a big year a couple years ago, 6 years ago, but hasn't been able to come back. Leila Fernandez won in DC, but then lost really early in Montreal. Diallo got out fairly early as well in National Bank Open in Toronto. So just, a lot of potential in Canada tennis, but no big star yet. However, this new girl comes out of nowhere, Victoria Mboko, 18 years old, from Burlington, Ontario. She was ranked, I believe, as 333 in January. Comes into this tournament and shocks the world. She ends up beating Coco Gauff, ranked number 1 at this tournament, because Sabalenka was not there. Ranked number 1 at this tournament, right? She won a Grand Slam as of recent. And Mboko beat 4 different Grand Slam champions in this tournament. She had a tough schedule. She somehow beat these stars, these former champions, these people, these veterans of the sport, this 18-year-old, and made it to the finals. So Canada was losing their minds. We're going crazy. We have this new star, potential star, who is now going to be playing Naomi Osaka, 4-time Grand Slam champ. Was once viewed as a prodigy of tennis, who I still think is, but has had a bad couple of years. So I was happy to see Osaka back in the finals. It's great for the sport of tennis to see Osaka back. And Mboko and Osaka battled. First set though, Osaka had that match. She had it. She beat her 6-2 in the first set. She was going to win that, it looked like. In the second set, Osaka seems to fall apart a little bit. And Mboko uses that as fuel and wins the second set. And now in the third set, Osaka looked drained. She looked defeated early on. And Mboko didn't. I don't know why Osaka was like that. Things were not going her way. She didn't have the best match of her life in the second and third sets. And Mboko also didn't, but found ways to win, to get points, to fuel herself. She also had the crowd. Watching that on TV, you feel the energy of Montreal there. Not a single person is cheering for Osaka. And she knows that. She's in Montreal. Everyone's going to be cheering for the Canadian. But I think that affected her. Because anytime Mboko did anything, the crowd roared. They were cheering before the end of a point, which, you shouldn't do. But the energy was unmatched. So I think that really affected Osaka, and Mboko ended up winning the third set. And late in the third set, Osaka kind of gave up. It looked like she wasn't necessarily trying for balls. She had a very blank face on. There just wasn't the energy. While Mboko had the most energy she's had all tournament. And Mboko won this match in the third set. Man, that was so exciting. Match point, seeing her get the win, seeing her just break down. She couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe it. The 18-year-old had to beat all these former Grand Slam champs, and won her first big tournament in her home country. That is beautiful. That is a storybook ending to this tournament for her. But the thing, though, that has been overshadowing that beautiful moment was Osaka's speech. So anytime you lose in a tournament in the finals, you have to make a speech, right? Most of them don't necessarily want to you don't want to make a speech, right? You just lost one of the most important moments of your career. You lost, and you don't want to make a speech, but it's what you do. It's every player does it, right? So Osaka goes up, she thanks the ball kids and the volunteers, and that was about it. She did not congratulate Mboko, and people were very angry. And it was shocking. It was sad to see because Mboko has expressed that Osaka is one of her favorite players growing up. She looked up to her. So that was a weird moment. And Osaka then took to social media, I believe it was a day or two after, and explained that she was in a bit of a daze and that she meant no harm. And, she wants to congratulate Mboko. And I think Osaka should have been more professional, but absolutely people should not be throwing hate at her, right? Osaka has expressed that she has dealt with mental health struggles, right? She's been one of the very open athletes on it, who I actually talked about on the show with my former co-host Mark. We talked about it on the show 4 years ago when Osaka did not want to speak with the media, and how, she was getting discipline for it. And it wasn't right, because she should, she's struggling. Let her deal with her issues on her own. This is different though when it comes to congratulating someone, but no way should there be hate. She took accountability for, not being the best, having the best sportsmanship in that moment, but she expressed she was in a bit of a daze. She was a bit of a shock, right? She finally had a good tournament in 3 years, 2.5 years. So let her have this moment. She's sad, but you know what? She congratulated her afterwards, and I think people gotta be a little bit easier on athletes, on people in general, right? Because they're people. So, anyways, congratulations to Mboko. Congratulations to Osaka for making it that far. I'm excited to see those two battle it out, hopefully again. And then with the men's, it was amazing. We got to see Ben Shelton just. What a match that was. It was a third set tiebreak, the first third set tiebreak at the National Bank Open to determine the championship, I believe since the early 2000s. I think it was like 2007. So really exciting to watch. Ben Shelton, man, that serve, seeing that serve live was so crazy. So shout out Mboko and Shelton for winning National Bank Open. The Cincinnati Open is happening right now. It's so crazy. It's like bang, bang, bang. They end Wimbledon, then it's hardcourt season. The US Open is so soon. It's absolutely insane. This tennis tour, insane. All right, now moving on from baseball and tennis, we have fantasy football draft for me coming up tomorrow night. Myself and my group of friends, it's 12 girls in a fantasy football league. This started a couple years ago when my friend Alex messaged us about doing one, and I said, I'm the only one who knows football, right? These girls are not sports people, really. When I'm hanging out with the girls, we do not talk about sports. But when she said we should do it, I was like, you guys aren't going to get it. We ended up doing it, and I took it very easy on everyone in the first year. I didn't win. I haven't won since. We started in 2023. I was in the finals, though. And then last year, I don't think I even made the playoffs. But we're doing it this year again. My friends are now more prepared. I'm not taking it easy on them whatsoever, because I want to win. Because I'm the only one who actually knows football in this friend group, right? I'm the only one. Like, with my podcast even, they watch it. So shout out to all you guys who are watching this. But I know you don't understand a lot of stuff that I'm talking about because you are not the biggest sports fans. But anyways, our fantasy draft is tomorrow night. Going into this, the top guys that I'm interested in are probably the basic answers. It's Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs. Bijan Robinson is on a lot of ESPN mock drafts as like a first or second pick. I don't like that. That's not really what I don't think I'm gonna do that. Listen, if he's the only good option at, let's say I have like the 12th pick or something, yeah, but I don't think I'm gonna go with Robinson for my first top 5 picks. I'm gonna go, as I said, Jefferson, Chase, Malik Neighbors. I am a Giants fan, so take this with a grain of salt, but I think Malik Neighbors should be a first-round pick. I think he's going to be absolutely unreal this year. He actually has a quarterback. The Giants, we don't have Daniel Jones anymore on this team. We got Russell Wilson, who is supposed to start. Then we have Jackson Dart, who we could see this year as well. Not sure what we're going to see, but I do believe that the ball will get to Malik Neighbors a lot. So I think Malik Neighbors should be a first round pick. And I think there's a possibility that I will be taking him. I think my top 3 wide receivers going in are Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and then Malik Neighbors at 3. And then, you got Tyreek Hill in there. And then you got Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then you got CeeDee Lamb. You got a lot of big names for wide receivers. I do want to talk way more about fantasy, though, later on in this season. I just haven't done enough research where I can properly give advice in fantasy football. Like, I'm not the person right now. I'm way too locked in Jays baseball to do a lot of research on who to draft and who not to. But definitely this year, if people are interested, especially too, I'd love to talk some fantasy, take questions. And because I think I'm still good at fantasy. I think last year I flew too close to the sun. I had a really stacked team and I just did not play the right guys. So I learned from my mistakes, and I'm going to win this year. But yeah, I think that is going to do it on today's episode. I don't know if I rambled a little too much. That's a problem about when it's just you. You tend to just kind of ramble because you're talking to yourself. There's no one here to interrupt you or say, hey, maybe we should switch the topic. But thank you guys for watching and or listening. As I said before, if you want to watch, it's on YouTube, Keep It Kula Podcast, and audio only on Spotify, Keep It Kula Podcast. Follow my Instagram too, please. Keep It Kula Podcast. Post a lot of clips, a lot of content. My story's always going with big news and big moments and whatnot. Yeah, that's gonna do it. Thanks guys for watching, and I will see you next time.